Poor kid holding the other leg is about 19 years old. And I have never seen Shannon in so much pain. I laughed the entire delivery. It was hilarious. If you could have seen the looks on her face and the sounds that she made, dads, you know what I'm talking about. And the whole time I'm holding a leg. And the other kid, when I looked over, I noticed that the other kid, he was watching the same movie that I was watching. I get asked a lot, tell me a story about mom. And I find that I remember the same ones, but I have a hard time thinking of new ones that he doesn't already know. So if anybody has a story, tell that one right there. And if I think of any more, I'll be sure to share them with you.
Okay, Duane wanted to get up, but he says he's too embarrassed. I had put a book together for Duane, his sister, and Eddie, Shannon's mom. So he would like you all to be able to take a peek at this. This is just pictures. They're only pictures that I took off her for Facebook because I knew that these were the ones that were important to her. So I'm going to leave it up here for a while, and anybody that wants to take a look at it, these are pictures of her and her kids. And it's entitled, This Is Us Forever and Always. And at the back it says, this was our story in pictures, Mom, Angel Girl, and Monkey Boy. So this he takes to school every day.
Does anyone else want to come up and say a few words? I have one more story. My sister prompted me. That same TTY service, the California Relay Service, you know, they've got a little machine that you actually stick the phone into, and the head part of the phone where you listen and the mouth part where you talk goes into the machine, and that's how it kind of decodes things. And one Christmas I asked for a TTY so that I could talk to my friend without having to call the California Relay Service. And I tell you, the things that they heard us talk about and how weird it must have been, because you were only allowed to type, I think, for 20 minutes at a time. So to come into a conversation every 20 minutes and go, man, what are these girls talking about? But I got the gift, and I was beside myself that Christmas. And so the first thing I did after all the presents were opened was I went to the phone. And I remember sitting on the kitchen floor, and I put the phone down, and I called Shannon's house. Chuck and Eddie and Alicia were there, and you hit the space bar so that they know that it's the California Relay Service. But it wasn't. It was me. And so she gets on the phone, and she sets up her side, and I said, this is Melanie. And she said, no, Melanie doesn't have a TTY. This is the California Relay Service. I said, no. This is Melanie with her own TTY. And it was like just a cluster of letters that came out. She was so excited. And in this new day and age of texting and abbreviating words with just letters, that existed in Shannon's world 20 years ago. You had specific codes you had to use when you were done talking. And, you know, go ahead to SK, GA to SK. I am ready to sign off, essentially. So you know that I have nothing left to say. So it's remarkable to me that even, 20 years after high school, that all these social media tools that we now have available, Shannon was using those well beforehand and inventing her own, but they just made her connect more people. And so, anyway, so I'll end my story with that, but I do want to thank everyone that came. Oh, we have one more that wants to come up and talk? Sure, come on up.
Since everybody is thinking of stories, I just can't help but replay the last 30 years in my head. If you don't know who I am, my name's Jeremy. I've known Shannon for a long, long time. My speech therapist and my teacher, like Shannon had Sue-Ann, was Susie Bradshaw. And she had worked with me for many, many years. But because of the connection with the schools and the activities that we did, we were able to see quite a bit of each other and interact with other kids that were also in the hearing impaired community. And even though we started out as kids, we would always see each other at the different functions, and everything would be, you know, just like one big party. It was like getting together with your friends, and you guys all have something in common. You all have something very special to share. And it wasn't until I got to teens I started taking up things like music and performing arts, and I started helping out at a local karate studio because a friend of mine, the first guy that ever got me started in martial arts was the guy that is responsible for what I do now. And I told Shannon about, you know, helping out a little bit more at the karate studio, and she said, "Oh, you definitely got to do that." Well, why? Well, you can beat people up that are mean to me. I didn't know if that was quite what I had in mind, but you know, it was because of that budding friendship that when we got to the teens, well, here we are. I'm a younger guy. I'm about a year and a half younger than her. So we started spending a lot of time together, and it was actually because of her that I learned how to sign. I never bothered with it before ever in my life. And it was because of the necessity of it, like you had stated. It was a task for me to learn because I'd never picked it up before. But I really always remember the way that she taught me it because she used country song. And at that time I hated country. I didn't even listen to it. But I got used to it because when you read the lyrics, it really does tell a story. And so it makes it much easier to remember the words and sign and be able to pick things up. So I'll always have that in the back of my head as one of the, you know, better experiences for picking up something new. The other thing was that when she decided that she wanted to get her first tattoo, it was for a very important reason. It was in honor of her uncle. And she needed somebody to be there to kind of help reinforce, you know, her going through this. Well, she didn't know exactly how painful that process was going to be, and neither did I. So here I am sitting here next to her, and I said, "Okay, what do you want me to do?" She said, "Put your hand out." And she held onto that thing, and then as soon as the needle hits the skin, I feel it getting tighter and tighter and tighter, and I'm thinking, okay, it's got to stop at some point. Well, it didn't. I think that whole process, even though the tattoo was only this big, I think at the end of that whole process, literally every bone in my hand was either fractured or bruised or something. I still have use of it, but yeah, like Casey had mentioned, if you had seen the expressions on her face and the noises that she makes, she has a very unique response to pain. But I think from, you know, the time that we spent, and even though for a collective 20 years, I think it's been about that long that we haven't seen each other, it doesn't make her life any less luminant, and it doesn't make it any less memorable for me than, you know, than the way I remember it. Time just doesn't do anything to separate people that are important to you and the way that they affect you in your life. And so, believe me, when I heard about this, it was a shock. And then, of course, it was numbing. And I think it had that effect on all of us. But you know, I started remembering all the happier things and the things that really made Shannon special. Then it was much easier to take in. It really was. But that's really all I can bring up at this point. It was just a fantastic privilege to know her and to connect with the people that I knew through her too as well. So, but thank you. Thank you for having me here too.
So thank you for all of these tributes. They're a way that Shannon will live on, and now that I know Duane wants stories, I have that a personal mission to do some videos for you, or at least write something out, but I think the videos will be more entertaining. So
Sign him, make him learn that.
I will send him a lineup of songs then. So Shannon impacted all of our lives in one way or another, and even to this day, I find it very fitting that when I'm up here talking, it starts to rain. I hear that rain at a moment like this or at a wedding is actually really good luck. So taking that as a positive sign from the universe that everything is on the right track. So as a reminder, there are condolence pages up there, which are on the table that we would love to have you sign so that we can put a booklet together for Shannon's family. And we're going to continue this celebration of her life as we break bread together. But I'd like to end with, may the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face. The rain falls soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand. Thank you all for coming.